if Harlan does get a Blood Moon out, there's basically nothing Josh can do.
Yeah, Josh does have some basics in his deck. It looks like we've got 3 plains and a swamp. But if Harlan is able to get an early Blood Moon and kind of catch Josh off guard in this game 1, he could very easily run away with it.
Yeah, and I mean, he may not even need an early Blood Moon. If you don't know your opponent has Blood Moon, it's unlikely that Josh is going to fetch many basics. I mean, he might fetch 1 or 2, depending on how things go and how much he wants to preserve his life total, but his life total isn't that relevant in this matchup. I mean, it is a little bit, but not a lot. So it'll be interesting to see if he goes, well, there's the plains. So that answers that question.
Yeah, so it looks like Josh has gone from, he's leaded on a Godless Shrine. Harlan has gone ahead and just shocked himself down to 18 with his Steam Vents. Josh is fetching out a basic plains, kind of like he got tipped off to what was going on with Harlan's deck, which, again, I wouldn't be surprised is what happened, being as Harlan is 8-0 along with Josh. But Harlan's going to go ahead and Spell Snare that Intangible Virtue, just kind of try and keep them on even footing.
Yeah, this is a good play from Harlan, because he really wants to keep the board clean just to buy himself time. That Intangible Virtue can attack on its own, but it threatens a lot of power and toughness later on in the game.
Absolutely. So it looks like Harlan's just going to play Land Go. Josh is going to play...
Wow, and Harlan is just coming at him with the answers, just digging through his deck, keeping that board clean. Harlan's basically executing exactly the game plan that he wants to execute.
Now, it looks like Harlan does have a couple Splinter Twins in his hand, a bunch of blue cards. There's a very good chance one of them could be a Deceiver Exarch, and he's just going to try and end the game over the next couple of turns.
Yeah, I certainly see a Vendilion Clique, which he might cast first just to kind of see what's going on the other side of the board. But it depends on if Josh Cho taps out. He's got to be pretty worried about getting twinned out. So I would assume that Josh isn't going to tap out this turn, but he needs to develop some sort of pressure, so we may see him tap out anyway.
Absolutely. So one interesting interaction here is Blood Moon with Flagstones of Trocare. So since Josh has multiple copies of it, they are still considered legendary, but they are now legendary mountains that don't let you search when they die.
Yeah, always interesting, the layering effects that you get with Blood Moon and other various types of permanents.
Yeah, it's just a fun Magic card, right?
Yeah, that and Humility gives you some interesting rulings also.
Man. Yeah, Humility is just real bad like that. So we're going to see here a Spell Snare off of the Snapcaster Mage is going to take care of a Bitter Blossom from Josh Cho. Now Josh is going to be able to just play a land and cast another Bitter Blossom here. So he is going to try and produce a little bit of a board presence, which is going to be very good to catch up, because up until that point Harlan had been doing very well at keeping things at the pace that he wanted it.
Yeah, Harlan had a great draw, but Josh is kind of coming at him with his own great draw. So it's good to see that each deck is functioning kind of how it wants to, and it'll certainly be a great match.
Absolutely. So Harlan's going to go ahead and crack a Scalding Tarn here. He's going to get a basic island. Again, keeping in mind that he does have those Blood Moons in his deck, so he wants to have some basic lands on the battlefield in case he decides to use that later on in the game.
Yeah, currently Josh has a Plains. I'm not sure if he has a Swamp, but the Blood Moon ship may be sailing.
So it looks like Harlan has found a Keranos off of his Serum Visions that could potentially enter the battlefield next turn and might change this game around a little bit. That Bitter Blossom is going to do a lot of damage to Josh Cho over the rest of this game, and that Keranos bolts going up top could do very good. Yeah,
Keranos also just a great card, generates a lot of value, and Josh doesn't really have any way to deal with it. I mean, he has nothing that exiles it. Keranos obviously is indestructible, which makes it extremely resilient. So if Harlan can deploy it onto the board, he can basically just say to himself, all I need to do is survive, and eventually I'm likely to win.
Yeah, in fact, it looks like Josh doesn't have any card in his entire deck that can answer it, outside of letting it get activated and then using a Path to Exile.
Yeah.
So it looks like here we're going to get a Lingering Souls, or is that a Spectral Procession? It's one of the dual deck arts. I believe it's Spectral Procession, so he's going to get 3 spirits here.
And this is definitely the way that Josh, one of the big advantages that Josh has playing a black-white tokens deck is that because his threats are spread out among so many bodies, it's hard to actually answer them. Harlan, I don't believe, has any real way to answer multiple permanents. So this Keranos, it can do some work in terms of controlling the board, but it's going to be an uphill battle.
Yeah, it looks like he does have 1 Electrolyze in his main deck, but that is about it. Now he does have Is It Static Caster in his sideboard, and as we saw earlier with Ross Merriam, that can be a good card, but is shut off fairly quickly by Intangible Virtue.
Yeah, given the fact that Josh Cho is developing a board that's going to be hard for Harlan to push through, Harlan is unlikely to try to grind his opponent out with Keranos. I think Harlan's really going to be using his Serum Visions to dig up a combo piece and hopefully twin his opponent out.
So we see here that Harlan is going to use his Vendilion Click on Josh's end step. He's going to go ahead and attack in on his turn to trade off it for some of the tokens. I have to imagine here he's just going to slam Keranos and hope that things kind of fall his way over the rest of the game.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Harlan takes it, because he's going to have the opportunity to control the board, he's going to have the opportunity to attack Josh's life total, and he's going to have the opportunity to combo out. So these three avenues are something that Harlan's going to have to decide, you know, how to prioritize, and it'll be interesting to see where he takes it.
Yeah, this could turn out to be real bad for Harland if Josh is able to find another copy of Intangible Virtue to make his army be a little bit more formidable. But for now, he seems to be all right as long as he can continue to draw into some action. So Josh has gone ahead and drawn his card for the turn. Let's see what he decides that he wants to do. He has lost a life, going down to 14, getting another Relax token.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Josh does, because right now his 1/1 tokens are just 1/1s. They're good on this board, but they're not great. But if he can have a way to pump them up, then he'll be in a really dominating position. And that's a good card to get them pumped up.
Yeah, so we've got a Gideon, ally of Zendikar here, standard all-star, going to come in, enter the battlefield. It looks like he's going to make a 2/2 for now.
Oh, is that a Reed Duke signature? That is a Reed Duke signature.
That is a Reed Duke
after
signature.
my own heart. I love it.
That is such a handsome token.
Oh yeah, real good. So tall and strong.
Unfortunately, it gets replaced by an actually ally token.
Aw, boo.
So Harland is going to go ahead and draw a card. He's going to fetch and see what he decides he wants to do here.
So I think the likely play from Josh with that Gideon is to plus it so that it swings in for 5, and then on the following turn he'll be able to minus and get an emblem and still keep his Gideon alive.
Absolutely. So it looks like Harlan's been able to Serum Visions into an Electrolyze, which is going to be very good at trying to buy him some time here. He also has a Lightning Bolt.
The main thing that's good about the Electrolyze, I think, is that it buys him a little bit of time, but also digs a card deeper in his deck. He really needs to find some way to win this game soon, because Josh's offense is becoming larger and larger, and Harlan doesn't really have a good way to contain it.
Yeah, so it looks like he's going to use the Electrolyze to do a point of damage to the Gideon and take out one of the Fairy Rogue tokens, and then use a Lightning Bolt to finish off the Gideon. And he has drawn into a Snapcaster Mage off of that Electrolyze, which is a card that he might be able to take advantage of once we get into a few more turns in this game when he has some more mana. But for now, Josh has an ever-growing army of tokens and is just an Anthem effect away from being able to put Harlan into a two-turn clock.
Yeah, Harlan's burn spells on Josh's permanents are basically all Harlan can do to defend, and that's certainly what he has to do, but it is not a solution to the problem. So Harlan's got to get some sort of combo going soon.
Yeah, absolutely. He does have Splinter Twin in hand, so he is just hoping to draw the other part of the combo.
Not for long.
However, Joshua Cho has found a Thoughtseize, a fun and interactive magic card. Going to look at his hand, Stomping Ground, Splinter Twin, Snapcaster Mage, and take the best card. I have to think it's going to be Snapcaster Mage, so the hope of winning with Splinter Twin is still alive for Harlan. But Josh can very easily break that up with something like Murderous Cut, Slaughter Pact, or Path to Exile.
Yeah, it looks like he's got the Path to Exile in hand, and I bet that Harlan can guess that Josh has some sort of removal spell. Otherwise, there's a good chance that Josh would have taken the Splinter Twin. But Josh taking the Snapcaster Mage over the Splinter Twin is really showing that Josh doesn't fear the Splinter Twin. He's already got it covered.
Now Josh is playing a Vault of the Archangel here for the turn, which is a very important land now that Harlan has a Keranos on the battlefield. Along with that Bitter Blossom, there's just no hope that Harlan's going to be able to burn out Josh, as he's going to be able to gain life every single turn with that Vault of the Archangel if he decides to.
So one thing that would be interesting in this game is if we watched it all over again and went to see if this Keranos had been a Pestermite, if Harlan might have had a spot to sneak through the combo, because that's what most people would be playing there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely interesting.
I do think that the Keranos is a... Oh, man. Well, Boom, goes the dynamite.
Yeah, so that intangible virtue we were just waiting for, just some type of anthem effect, is going to put that game away for Joshua Cho. He's going to take game one against Harlan Fear, who is currently 14th on our leaderboard. They're both 8-0, battling to be undefeated on day one. Let's go ahead and take a look at the sideboards and see what kind of options we have here for these two players. So Joshua Cho has 2 Duress, 3 Fulminator Mage, 1 Disenchant, 1 Kataki War's Wage, 1 Worship, 3 Stony Silence, 2 Rest in Peace, and 2 Surgical Extraction. What do you think he's going to go to?
So we kind of discussed this a little earlier, but I think that Josh is going to be bringing in the Duress and the Disenchant. I don't think he's going to be bringing in any of the other cards. He's fairly well equipped for this matchup to begin with in his main deck. So I think those are the only 3 cards that he's likely to bring in.
Okay. Now as for Harlan, since he's on a little bit of a unique build, he's got a unique sideboard as well. So we have 1 Dispel, 2 Vandal Blast, 1 Engineered Explosives, which seems great.
Yeah.
1 Ancient Grudge, 1 Negate, 1 Roast, 1 Spell Sky, 1 Anger of the Gods, 2 Vidalcan Shackles, 1 Izzet Staticaster, 2 Jace Architect of Thought, 1 Pia and Kieran Nalar, and another Kronos God of Storms. What do you think he's going to do with this amalgamation?
So I think one thing that's interesting about Harlan's build is it seems to me that he prefers to play a grindier matchup. He cut 2 combo pieces from the main deck in order to have more grindy cards like Kronos. So I think Harlan's preference is going to be more grindy. If it was me in this matchup, I think I would prefer to combo Josh out because it's hard to actually answer everything that Josh is doing and actually grind him out. But given that Harlan is already so far in the direction of grinding, I think he's going to continue on that direction. So I think we're going to be seeing the Engineered Explosives. We're going to be seeing the Anger of the Gods. We might even see the Vidalcan Shackles. We'll definitely see the Izzet Staticaster. And I think we'll see the 2 Jace, the P and Kieran Nalar, and the Kronos.
I definitely can see that. That does seem like he is a little more inclined to play a pretty grindy game.
Yeah, I mean, with a lot of these things, you know, your preference and what you're used to doing and how you prefer to play the game really holds a lot of weight. And I think Harlan as a player, he's, you know, I played against him. I believe he's from my area in the Northeast because I played against him a lot. But I know that he really likes his mid-range kind of grindy, blue-red X kind of tempo-y decks. And I think that's basically the way he wants to play this deck.
Yeah, he plays a lot of Jeskai in Standard, I know that much.
Yeah.
Now, Joshua Cho and his black-white tokens, at least for me, seems like it's been the deck choice of this tournament. It's in a very good spot in every game that we've seen him play. And it's got me thinking about tokens, so let's talk about the Invitational tokens.
Oh, yeah, they're great.
So we do have Alex Pistecki as our Season 3 Invitational winner last year in New Jersey, and he is a 0/0 germ with the little cute turtle Pistecki in the little bottle, beaker, whatever.
Little mad scientist that's making a mini version of himself, a little mini-me.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. So that you can receive this limited edition Invitational token. It goes to all open participants, all classic participants, and it's in all orders from StarCityGames.com. So if you need to buy something on the website, we'll go ahead and send you a 0/0 germ Alex Pistecki token that you can use for like your batter skull.
Oh yeah, I hear that in some house rules, if you have Alex Pistecki on your batter skull, that it's a 5/5, not a 4/4.
I don't want to be in that house.
House rules.
And then we also have Caleb Shear's token, who won our Season 4 Invitational in Las Vegas earlier this year. And he is a Storm counter. So this is the first ever Storm counter that we've made through these tokens. We have a Tom Ross Poison counter. We have a Caleb Shear Storm counter because he is known for playing Storm in Legacy.
Yeah, I love how whenever someone makes a card, they really bring a lot of their own personality into it. You know, you can really put your mark on the whole Magic community with these Invitational tokens. And I know for me, I've played in quite a few Invitationals, and I've always wanted to win one just for the token.
Yeah, what would you be?
Oh, I'd probably be either a Voice of Resurgence token or an Ajani Call of the Pride cat token.
Fair enough. Now, these Caleb Shear tokens are also a limited edition Invitational token. They will be available to all open participants, all classic participants, and in all orders from StarCityGames.com beginning January 29th at noon Eastern Standard Time. And the first opening classics where you can get these will be in Atlanta for the Oath of the Gatewatch release week. So as we go back here, we see Josh Cho and Harlan Freer still going to be shuffling a little bit. So I want to talk about your token choice. So Voice of Resurgence Elemental or a Johnny Caller of the Pride? It'll be a 2/2 cat?
Yeah, so basically a Johnny Caller of the Pride is just my favorite card. And it was the first me card to have success with. And what I mean when I say that is, before I played the green-white aggro deck, I was just playing decks, that were designed by Ian and Reed Duke. The green-white aggro deck was the first one that I designed and I tuned. And, well, I shouldn't say that I designed it, but I picked it up, I tuned it over a long period of time, and I had a lot of success with it. So Johnny Call the Pride has a special place in my heart, but I also would consider Voice of Resurgence just because it sees a lot more play.
Fair enough.
And it was in the same deck, so...
No, I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see that. Unfortunately, my favorite card doesn't make tokens. It's Tradewind Rider.
Yeah.
From Tempest. So I do have some art. My fiance got me a real sweet spread with a bunch of promos, custom altered by the artist or whatnot. But that Tradewind Rider that's a Magic card.
Yeah.
They don't make them like that anymore.
Yeah, that's true. But I would like to note, though, that you have a pretty sweet elemental token.
I do have a pretty sweet
for young
token.
Pyromancer. That's a good one. You're all fiery and, cool
which isn't my second favorite card, is Young Pyromancer.
Yeah.
So. The beard wasn't as long, though, when Kristen did the art, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, there's so much fire in that picture, your beard would have burned up.
Yeah, so it looks like both Josh and Harlan are going to be mulliganing to 6 here, which has to be a little rough.
Yeah, well, it's a gentleman's 6. At least, when one player's going down to 6, the other one's following suit.
That's true.
Even Steven.
And then they get to scry, so it really isn't all that bad.
It's like they didn't mulligan at all.
Yeah. Let's take this brief second to learn a little bit about Harlan Fire. So you have some sweet hair. He has some sweet hair.
Yeah, he's got a lot of it.
He's 21 from Charlottesville, Virginia. 1 open top 8 with a win, so he is 100% batting average when he makes it to the elimination rounds.
Yeah, pretty good.
He's a huge Pittsburgh Steelers fan. He donates his hair after it reaches a certain length, which is pretty cool. And he is a former wrestler in high school. Did you wrestle?
I didn't wrestle. I played soccer, did swimming, did diving, did track, and that was my thing. Mostly soccer.
Almost wrestling.
Yeah, almost wrestling. My school didn't actually have a wrestling team. Otherwise, I probably would have done it.
Fair enough. It's good for conditioning.
Yeah. Yeah.
I never did wrestling because I hate conditioning.
Yeah, I hear you have to do a lot of dieting and stuff for that too, because you got to weigh in and stuff.
Yeah, but we still had to do another sport for conditioning when I played football, so I always did track.
Oh, yeah.
I did shot put and javelin and disc.
Yeah, that's fun stuff.
I always felt weird spinning around trying to throw stuff.
I think everyone did.
So we got Harlan who's going to lead off here with a Steam Vents. He's going to get Inquisitioned by Josh Cho, who's going to see the Blood Moon in his hand.
It's good to know about.
Jig is up.
Yeah, one of my favorite things to do when I Thoughtseize or Inquisition a Blood Moon, and see a Blood Moon, is to not take it and immediately fetch 2 basics, yeah.
Well, Josh is starting on basic Swamp here, so I can't imagine he's going to take this Blood Moon.
Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't have a fetch land, then it's likely that he will take it. The other thing, too, is Josh doesn't have that many ways to kill an enchantment. I mean, whenever you are playing Abzan or Jund and you have access to Abrupt Decay and Maelstrom Pulse, then you can kind of let the Blood Moon sit around if you want for a little bit and kind of deal with it later. But Josh really doesn't have a way to deal with it if it hits the board, so he might actually take it even though he has started with a basic and has the potential to drop another basic.
It looks like Josh does have his Disenchant in his sideboard, which is really good, but I imagine he might still just take the Blood Moon, so that's the potential to run away with the game.
Yeah, if he doesn't take the Blood Moon, I think he'd take the Snapcaster Mage, but it really depends on what else he has in his hand, and I can't get a clear look at it. I think I see another Inquisition.
Yeah, it looks like he does have another Inquisition, but he is going to get rid of that Blood Moon. Sorry, Harlan, not going to have any fun today.
Yeah.
Just going to pass the turn back. Harlan's going to go ahead and draw a card for his turn. Looks like he picked up a Jace, Architect of Thought. He's just going to play a Steam Vents or a Scalding Tarn and pass, and hope to get some leverage off of this remand that he has in his hand to draw into some more lands. I think here that he might just... Oh, he's going to negate because he wants to try and protect the remand that's in his hand, maybe?
I think he's also worried about Josh just playing another untapped black-producing land, and if he remands it, then Josh is just going to run it back immediately afterwards.
That's fair.
Well, at least that's the fear. It looks like Josh just has the Windswept Heath, or Windburst Heists.
Yeah, I also imagine that Josh is probably just going to take the negate anyways, and doing this is going to hide the information that he has Jace in his hand.
Yeah.
So Josh Ocho is going to use the Windbreast Kites to hide away a card. Hopefully he can turn that on later on in the game so we can see exactly what it was. But Harlan's just going to draw and pass without playing a third land, and that's going to be rough.
Yeah, he really would have liked to play Remand last turn just to dig for a land, but I think he felt priced into playing that negate instead.
So it looks like Josh Ocho is just going to play his Intangible Virtue, get it remand. Harlan will draw a card, and then just pass the turn back. So they both missed a land drop. Harlan's going to Serum Visions here and magically found a land with 2 more lands on top of his deck. So I have to imagine that he's just going to keep some number of those.
Drew out of it.
He's such a powerful magician.
Oh, yeah. You don't get to 8-0 without knowing how to cast your spells, that's for sure.
You don't get that glorious mane of hair without being a powerful magician either.
Yeah, you think that takes magic?
I mean, my beard does.
That's the beard power. That's the magic.
That is the magic. So Harlan's got to pass the turn back to Josh. He's drawn for his turn, but it looks like he doesn't have a land here. So there's a chance that Harlan might just run away with this game if he's able to put that Jace on the battlefield next turn.
Yeah, and we know Harlan's got the lands for it. Josh really wishes he had a Serum Visions to smooth out his draw, but Harlan's the only one with it.
So Harlan's going to draw for his turn. It's that island that he left on top with the Serum Vision Scry. He's going to play his Jace, Architect of Thought, -2, flip over some cards. Now Josh gets to split these into 2 piles, and Harlan gets to put 1 in his hand. So it's kind of a pick your poison, darned if you do, darned if you don't.
Yeah, this is definitely a really, really rough spot for Josh. I mean, it's a little, I think, too simple to just say that he's missing land drops, because now not only is Harlan making his land drops, but he's able to convert his extra mana into extra cards by having that Jace safe on the board. So Harlan now is not only accelerating his game plan in terms of just having more mana available and casting bigger spells, but he's able to draw more cards and is progressing his game plan on multiple axes farther than Josh is.
So it looks like Josh is going to miss another land drop, and Harlan has picked up a copy of Kronos, God of Storms, along with the 5th land off of the Jace activation the previous turn. So we're going to see Kronos and Jace here just putting some work in on a mana-screwed opponent.
Yeah, this is a dynamic duo that we've seen from Blue-Red Twin a lot, and we've also seen it from, Grixis control decks and whatnot, where this is just one of the best ways that these decks have to develop an advantage, run away with the game, control the board, and just sort of lock it up.
So it looks like from Josh's posturing, he just doesn't have a 3rd land yet again. I think he might just have an Intangible Virtue, and he's just going to pack them up so that we can go on to the rest.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, there's not much that Josh can draw. I mean, he's so far behind. He doesn't have any cards that can really catch him up in a really, really big way. Even if he draws a land and casts Lingering Souls, it's hard for Harlan to deal with, but Harlan is going to be able to deal with it.
Yeah, now what's actually interesting there is even had Josh been able to draw into some land to cast some spells, before Harlan started laying down his threats, there was a turn where he would have just remanded whatever Josh played and then started deploying his heavy hitters like Jace and Kronos. So I really feel like there wasn't much Josh was going to be able to do in that game, even if he would have had some lands. Yeah,
I definitely agree. But Josh is going to be on the play, for this 3rd game, so I think he still feels good about the match and still feels like he has a good shot.
Absolutely. So while Harlan and Josh go ahead and shuffle their decks, re-sideboard a little bit, let's go ahead and talk about the super cute creature collection.
Ooh, baby, yeah.
So we do have the Grizzly brand creature collection available now, playmats, sleeves, and player bundles. We've seen this a couple times throughout the day. He's on my lapel here on the pin.
Yeah, mine too.
I wouldn't say he's super cute, but he's just a cool dude.
Yeah, not super cute, also not super cuddly for a bear.
Probably not.
Looks like he's got roots as arms. Those are not,
Maybe if you're the big spoon.
I don't know. His wings look kind of, uncomfortable too. Yeah.
So you can find these at go.starcitygames.com/creature collection. But we also, in addition to the Grizzly brand parody, we have the Zebra.
Yeah, and we were talking about naming the Zebra before, and Twitter really came through and suggested some great names. I know one of them that they mentioned was Little Z, because, we have the big Z in Europe, so we got a Little Z in the Americas. Also, another one that I liked was just Stripes. We're still going to have to, poll the audience. My preference is to combine the two and have it be Z-Stripes. I think that would be really
Z-Stripes?
fun. Yeah, with a little, French accent or whatever there. Well, but, we'll have to see what everyone else thinks.
We'll have to put a poll on Twitter and see which one of those 3 that we can get the consensus on for the name. But regardless of what we end up naming this little zebra, they are nice and cute.
Yeah, big beady eyes that are all adorable.
Again, these are available now. Playmat, sleeves, and player bundles. Go.starcitygames.com/creature collection. So as we wait here for Joshua Cho and Harlan Fair to finish shuffling up for their Game 3, they're both 8-0. They're both going to day 2. One of them is just going to have a little better shot at making the run for that top 8, being 9-0.
both players are going to feel great about their tournament, starting out so well and having this last match go to a game 3. I mean, it's going to be really close. You can see both of them smiling, you know, joking around with each other, just having a good time. I think a lot of people sometimes think that the Opens can be really cutthroat, especially with the people who are pushing, you know, for points. But, you know, when it really comes down to it, we're all friends and we just want a game.
Yeah, absolutely. Magic's fun. If you're not having fun, then
you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. You should just put 4 Primeval Titans in play on turn 3, and then you'll have a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, real fun for you, not so much your opponent.
So we got Joshua and Harlan looking at their opening hands. Josh doesn't look too happy, but I think he's going to keep. Harlan is stone face as always.
And it looks like we've got 2 people keeping 7 cards, so this will be good.
Joshua Cho is led on a Shambling Vent past the turn. Harlan's going to draw. So we got a Misty Rainforest and a pass. I think he's probably hoping to catch something with a Spell Snare.
Yeah, and I'm sure Josh would love to land one of his big 2 drops, either the Bitter Blossom or his champion, the Auriok champion.
So it looks like we've got here a Windbreast Heights. I see 2 white cards and 2 land.
Is that a Path to Exile that he put underneath?
Could be. He's just going to go ahead and Windbreast Heights. Now we might have a discard spell out of Josh. This would be good for him, but he does not have one. So Harlan's just going to fetch on his end step. More than likely just going to get his tap Steam Vents, save some life, develop his mana.
So I wonder what else is in Josh's hand, because at this point, having no play on turn 1 or 2 and just 2 coming to play tap land seems like a bit of a slow draw. So I wonder if what he's going to be doing on the following turns and how powerful it would be.
I imagine he probably has some number of Path to Exile as a way to protect himself against the combo, but he's probably just full of Lingering Souls, Spectral Processions, Planeswalkers, things of that nature.
Yeah, just a lot of big, powerful 3 and 4 drops and a little bit of protection against the combo.
Either that or he doesn't have too many 2 drops and felt like it was more important to develop his mana to have 3 untapped mana rather than having 2 mana and then 2 mana over the next 2 turns.
So one thing that's interesting about Harlan's side of the board is he's got both Vidalcan Shackles in his hand. So those came in from the sideboard, and it's pretty interesting to have Vidalcan Shackles in against a tokens deck. But considering the fact that Harlan really is just sort of looking to be the control player, I think he's just looking for any kind of reusable removal that he can get his hands on.
Absolutely. It also could just be that Harlan knows that Josh has Auriok Champion in his deck, and
yeah, it's a great way to deal with it.
Auriok Champion is good in the tokens deck, but it's also pretty good against the tokens deck.
Yeah.
So
makes Bitter Blossom take a lot longer to kill you.
Yeah, a little bit more bitter. So Josh is going to go ahead and Spectral Processions and make 3 creatures. 3 1/1 Flying Spirits. Harlan is fetching here. Josh is going for Spirit, so it sounds like Harlan's going to let it resolve. But he is going to fetch for an island on Josh's end step. And let's...
Uh-oh.
Well, I think he wishes he had that remand in his hand.
Yeah, I agree. So it looks like both of these players are kind of off to a slow start, but since they're both off to slow starts where neither of them really had any action on the first 2 turns, you can kind of just say that, you know, it's equal footing. Now this is aggressive. Just the Ambush Viper in the face of 3 tokens.
Is it Static Caster here?
I mean,
No?
that's what I would expect.
Yeah, this is very aggressive. I imagine he's trying to give Joshua the chance to not have his Windbreast Heights activated next turn.
Yeah, the funny thing is that Josh doesn't even have that great of a card underneath there, at least not one that we'd want to cast right away.
Yeah, this is definitely interesting.
Yeah, really aggressive on Harlan's side. Seems like he's just really valuing trading his resources that he feels like aren't the most important resources.
Yeah, he's probably just going to play a land in a Shackles this turn. So Josh is just going to take the 2.
Pretty interesting line of play. So we'll see what Josh does on this turn.
Now it looks like Harlan did have another Snapcaster Mage in his hand and 0 spells, so it could just be that he feels like that's the best value he's going to get out of that Snapcaster Mage for now.
Yeah, a lot of that is going to be predicated on how long this game goes. I think the fact that Harlan played that Snapcaster Mage means that he thinks the game will be a little on the shorter side.
So it looks like here we've got a Duress coming from Josh. Now Harlan decided to not play Vidalcan Shackles that turn. I think what he's going to do is he's going to use his Deceiver Exarch to tap down the Windbreast Heights in Josh's combat step before it becomes active. Just because I think Harlan just feels like he's so worried about that Windbreast Kite's getting active.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he doesn't know what's underneath there. It could be something that's great. So
I guess he could also just tap down a token, right?
Yeah,
that works too. Saves a point of damage.
Yep.
Although cutting off a mana for Josh might be relevant.
So now we can see a little bit more why Harlan played that Snapcaster Mage. Not only does he have no instance to flash back with his Snapcaster Mage, but he's already got a backup Snapcaster Mage, and his hand is so mana intensive. I mean, between the other Snapcaster Mage, the 2 Vidalcan Shackles, that's going to tie up all of his mana for quite a while. So it is actually reasonable that that second Snapcaster Mage isn't actually going to get used for a very long time.
Yeah, so it looks like Josh has taken the Jace Architect of Thought with his Duress. Let's see how he plays the rest of this turn. Something like Intangible Virtue would be very, very good. I imagine he's also just trying to pressure... speak of the devil.
Speak of the devil and he shall appear.
So we've got Intangible Virtue for Joshua Cho. Now, even if Harlan does use that Deceiver Exarch to knock down one of those tokens, there's still going to be 4/4s. Also interesting to note here, the Intangible Virtue is going to affect Joshua's tokens, but not Harlan's. So if Harlan decides to start trying to use Vidalcan Shackles as removal, it really is not going to be trading 2 creatures against each other. It's just going to be giving him a chump blocker and removing an attacker.
Yeah, I mean, Harlan has some really powerful tools for this game, but all of them are fairly inefficient. So it's going to be interesting to see if Harlan has enough time to actually get all of his cards online, because the Shackles, the Snapcaster, those are cards that can kind of grind your opponent down, but they're also just really inefficient. And Josh is presenting a lot of power and toughness right now.
And it looks like Josh also has a Gideon in his hand, which, when made an emblem, is going to really beef these tokens up.
Yeah, even the 2/2 tokens that he makes are going to be quite good.
So Josh is just going to play his land, pass it back to Harlan. Looks like he's drawn another land for the turn, which is not exactly where he wants to be. He's going to offer up a trade with this Snapcaster Mage here, and I have to imagine that there's no way Josh is going to block. Yeah,
I think Josh's tokens are just too valuable right now, and he feels that his life total is just, as secure as can be.
So we're going to see a Scalding Tarn from Harlan. He's going to cast that Vidalcan Shackles. Unfortunately, it does take 2 generic mana to activate, so we're not going to see that happening until next turn once he untaps. So Josh has a potential here to do a lot of damage if he happens to draw something like another Intangible Virtue, or even if he decides to just play as Gideon and make an emblem, he's just going to do 9 damage to Harland.
Yeah, and while that's quite good, he would have to be worried about the Vidalcan Shackles starting to take over the game. I think Josh's best bet is going to be to continue going wide, because that's going to be the thing that's hardest for Harlan to contain.
Absolutely. So Josh has gone ahead and drawn for the turn. He does have a copy of Slaughter Pact in his hand. Important to remember that can give him protection against the combo if Harlan decides to try and backdoor this game with the Splinter Twin.
Yeah, another thing that's pretty sweet about this situation is the way that Harlan has played his Snapcaster Mage, has attacked, and Josh hasn't wanted to block. Really accentuates the fact that Josh is clearly the aggressor, Harlan is clearly the defender, and Josh is trying not to interact. He's trying not to trade, and Harlan is going out of his way to try and trade.
Yeah.
And I mean, that is really how you draw it up between an aggro deck and a control deck.
Absolutely. So it looks like we've got an attack here for 6 with the tokens, going to knock Harlan down to 7. Josh is going to go ahead and play his Gideon ally as Zendikar, uses 0 ability, make a 2/2 ally token. And from here, we're going to see exactly what Harlan can try and piece together to make it so he doesn't die next turn.
And just to continue that thought a little bit farther, I think when we saw Harlan play that Snapcaster early on and attack and Josh not block, we were kind of scratching our heads a little bit, but I think Josh and Harlan just knew perfectly what their roles were in the matchup. And Josh knows that he just wants to get his beats in, and he just does not want to trade unless he absolutely has to.
Absolutely. So Harlan is drawn for his turn. Looks like he found another copy of Snapcaster Mage, which is going to do literally nothing with all of his lands and the Jace in his graveyard. So here he can just play another Vidalcan Shackles and activate the first one, but I don't think that's really going to do much. We're actually in a spot here where he's going to He can make an emblem with Gideon, attack with all of his creatures, and then he can even just use the slaughter pack to kill the token that Harlan tries to steal and just lethal him in the air for 6 if he decides he just wants to go for it.
Yeah, Josh has played this extremely well. I've really... A few of those plays, I wasn't 100% sure where he was going, when he didn't block the Snapcaster Mage, but now everything just seems crystal clear. He is just swarming the board and shoving all in.
Yeah, since he had the intangible virtue, not blocking the Snapcaster Mage makes a lot of sense, as the 2 damage that he's going to take is going to be nothing compared to the multitudes of damage that intangible virtue is going to translate into with the token being alive.
Yeah, and I mean, if a little more trading had happened, Harlan has the tools to take this game over later. He does not have the tools to take over the game now. His Vidalcan Shackles and his other cards are just a little too inefficient, and Josh's cards have proven to be efficient enough to just, be able to assault Harlan before he's got his defenses set up.
Yep, just able to whittle him down to this point where he's just too far behind to do anything.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for Harlan to survive this attack step, and I think he knows it, but we'll see what Josh does. He's also got the Windbrisk Kites, which can be used.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and see exactly how we're going to go here. It might feel a little greedy to make an emblem with this Gideon, but I think between the Path to Exile that he potentially has under that Windbrisk Kites, along with the Slaughter Pack that he has in his hand, he just has to connect with 2 of those spirits in the air if he makes the emblem from Gideon.
Yeah, we'll see what Josh wants to do. It seems like things are certainly in his favor, and he has a couple different ways to play it. It'll be interesting to see what he chooses. I mean, he's played so well so far, and I think he'll continue to play as well, and I'm kind of excited to see exactly what he does.
Okay, well, that's just the nail in the coffin.
Jeez. Oh, man, if you've got children at home, cover their eyes, because we're going to have a dead nerd on camera soon.
And we're going to make an emblem, so they're going to be super buff.
Yeah, these Lingering Souls have been working out.
Yeah, they lift.
They bench press like 400 pounds.
Yeah, so now we're going to go to our combat step, I imagine. Let's see what Harlan wants to do. I think he's just going to let him take it.
He doesn't even need to Slaughter Pack something.
Yeah, he can just Path to Exile.
Yeah. And that's game.
That is gonna be game.
Josh Cho.
Just running the tables today?
Yeah, what a monster.
He's got his mustache power, just lifted him through all 9 rounds, 9-0 with black-white tokens.
Oh, man, I don't even want to look him in the eye. I'm afraid I'll be turned to stone.
We've got Harlan falling to 8-1, still a very, very good record on the day.
Yeah. Really
good position to try and top 8 this tournament tomorrow. Realistically, he's looking at needing a 4-2 performance to sneak in at X3, which I imagine is going to be the cutoff. But again, both of these players played very well that game. It's very interesting to see Harlan just ambush Viper that Snapcaster Mage, attack into your 3/1/1s, just looking like he's trying to give up all the value. And Josh is just not having it. I got my own game plan.
Yeah,
we're going to get you dead.
And what's great is if Josh had blocked, Harlan might have had enough time to get his shackles online and really start taking control of things. So, I mean, really, really good role assessment on both sides. Really, really good ability at valuing the cards. And, I mean, Harlan, he's got his own build of Blue-Red Twin. He's got some cards that people aren't normally playing. And if he had gotten just a little bit more time, he would have been able to take control of that game. So I certainly like a lot of the unique decisions he's made in deck building. I think it goes along with his style and the way that I typically see him play. So I like